Hello everyone, thank you for coming to this virtual talk. My name is Batu Aytemiz, and today I'll be presenting to you our paper, Your Buddy, the Grandmaster, Repurposing the Game-Playing AI Surplus for Inclusivity, on behalf of our team at UC Santa Cruz. We want to start with our conclusion. We want you to simply use your game-playing AI agents to assist your players. And for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to try to convince you of this conclusion. Towards the end, I want to start with my personal story and explain to you how I reached this idea. In 2013, this paper was released, playing Atari with deep reinforcement learning. And at the time, I was a freshman in college. And when I read this paper, my mind was blown. I didn't really understand much of it, but effectively, I could start thinking about all the ways we could use these fancy new AI techniques to enhance the gaming experience. Sure, it was only Atari games, but soon that changed. A few years later than this paper, the game of Go was beaten by AlphaGo. World's best Go player was beaten using a reinforcement learning based AI. And then OpenAI with their OpenAI 5 managed to beat really powerful Dota 2 players. And soon after, DeepMind with AlphaStar managed to beat really strong StarCraft 2 players. And as a budding AI researcher and a game designer, my response was, wow, we can obliterate our players. And yet, at the time, my game design experience was also going, and I had made a few games using AI agents in them. And I still realized, as an AI engineer or an AI designer, obliterating our players really isn't the goal. That is not necessarily desirable and isn't much use in the game design industry, in the games industry. And I want to focus a little bit on that. That star should remind you of A star. I'm fully aware that this task of beating our players in any games bigger than a trivial toy example is a very difficult task that requires much investment and time. And if I were to actually attempt to obliterate my players, if that was the goal, I wouldn't reach for deep reinforcement learning or neural network-based effects, but rather other techniques such as A star, MCTS, Minimax, planners, and so on and so forth. But thankfully, for the purpose of this paper, the details of the AI algorithms actually don't matter much. We can treat them as a competent game-playing AI that comes from a black box. So we just need competent game-playing AIs for this idea to work. So we want to use competent game-playing AIs in the industry because decades of research went into it and a lot of investment went into it. So we need to answer the question, what can we do with this box? And remember, obliterating our players isn't the goal. In most cases, in game-playing AI research, they're either used to play single-player games or as opponents in player versus player games. So we go back to our conclusion. We want to use game-playing AIs to assist our players. And I keep saying this, and I keep saying assist, but let's go deeper into that word a little bit. As you all know, people are diverse. And this diversity also comes in different abilities. Some people might have different abilities of touch, seeing, hearing, even speaking, and other abilities as well. And when we think about disabilities such as these, we usually conceptualize them as permanent disabilities. That's what comes to mind. But they don't necessarily have to be permanent. They can also be temporary. My touching ability is reduced if I have an arm injury, or my hearing abilities are much reduced if I have a hearing infection. They can even be situational, right? If you're a new parent and you have a baby, then your ability to play a hard platformer is severely reduced. So thinking of disability not necessarily as a permanent attribute of a person, but rather a mismatch between the person and the context is a useful lens to take. And similarly, in the game design industry, in the game development industry, assist modes have been cropping up in the past few years as a response to this understanding. Assist modes are making games easier, and that's okay. And now it has even become a point of pride for game designers to share and acknowledge the existence of assist modes. And this points to a cultural shift that happened in the last few years, as there was a lot of controversy around assist modes when they first crop up. One assist mode that is close to my heart is the one that exists in Celeste. And I want to talk a little bit more Celeste and the assist modes in general. So Celeste is a very difficult platformer. You play as Madeline, and your goal is to reach to the top of a mountain. And you do so by jumping, dashing, climbing, and effectively going through obstacles. And in order to explain an assist mode, I think I'm going to simply steal the words of the designers of Celeste. And I'm going to read their explanation to their assist mode verbatim. Celeste Assist Mode allows you to modify the game's rules to reduce its difficulty. This includes options such as slowing the game speed, granting yourself invincibility, infinite stamina, and skipping chapters entirely. Celeste was designed to be a challenging but accessible game. We believe that its difficulty is essential to the experience. We recommend playing without Assist Mode your first time. However, we understand that every player is different. If Celeste is inaccessible to you due to its difficulty, we hope that Assist Mode will allow you to still enjoy it. And in Celeste Assist Mode, which I used extensively, you can tweak 4 different attributes. You can change the game speed, you can give yourself infinite climbing stamina, you can change the number of air dashes that you have, and you can even make Madeline invincible. And when I say use your game playing AIs to assist your players, I want you to think along these lines. While Celeste Assist Mode is really powerful, I believe we can utilize our game playing AIs to do even more. For example, in a real-time strategy game, the AI agent can take control of the individual units, allowing the player to focus on a higher level strategy. Or maybe in a sports game, after a match has been completed, the AI agent can point out the mistakes, helping the player to learn and improve at a much faster rate. Or simply, in Celeste, for example, the AI agent can point out the optimal path, so the person doesn't necessarily have to think about the challenge of pathing or finding the route. They can focus on simply pressing the right buttons at the right time, if that's the challenge they want to take on. Right, so these are cool ideas, but how do we generalize? How do we come up with assistance method ideas given a game? Well, I'm glad you asked myself, because in the paper we actually contribute a design exercise. And it's a simple design. It has 3 steps. Given a game, first you need to identify the different challenge types that exist in the game. Then, using these challenge types, you construct the design space of assistance methods. And the number 3 is you simply explore the space of assistance methods. Let's start by identifying the different challenge types of Celeste and use it as an example. So as I said, if you look at Celeste, the first thing that the player needs to do is to plan their route. Right? They need to decide where to jump, where to climb, where to dash, and which of these steps to take in what order. But even after making a plan, which might be correct or might be wrong, regardless, you also have to execute this plan. Just deciding that you're going to dash here and jump there isn't enough. You also need to be able to press the buttons. This terminology comes from the Diagnostic Taxonomy of Failure. It is our paper that was published in FTG 2020. This taxonomy is especially useful for this purpose, and we would invite you to use it, but you can identify the different challenges using whatever terminology you see fit. After identifying these challenge types, planning and execution for Celeste, we need to construct the design space of assistance methods. So for that, we get 2 axes. One axis is execution and one axis is planning. What are these axes exactly? Well, they are the magnitude of our game playing AI execution, or magnitude of game playing AI assistance, right? So this space spanned by these 2 axes are the assistance methods of AI assistance types in Celeste. So on the top right, magnitude of AI assistance in execution being full, and also the planning assistance being full, is a traditional game playing AI agent. The agent simply playing through the game. And this is where we start. But if you actually decide to help the player in a single axis, you can help them only to plan, or you can help them only to execute their plan. Right? And after spanning this design space, we simply start exploring. And we do this exploration by picking points. For example, let's help our player only in the assistance challenge and give them a high magnitude of help. Well, we call that assistance type ghost, and that simply spawns a ghost and shows the player which route to take. How about this? What if we want to help our player on the execution assistance side and help them a fair bit once again? Well, we call that method click the move, and in this case, wherever the player clicks, the agent simply goes there. Now the player only has to plan and doesn't have to press the buttons themselves. And these two assistance methods we actually implemented and tested, and you can find the details in the paper. But after these maximum assistance in the individual axes, you can actually start scaling down the magnitude of assistance and come up with different ideas for both planning and execution. And the details, once again, are in the paper. But as you can see, there's a juicy white area that is unexplored, and you can start asking questions about the combinations of assistance. That's where things get exciting. And I am sure there are ideas out there that our team haven't been able to explore. So you can use this method to come up with very different execution methods, or assistance methods rather. So when you have a competent game playing AI, we invite you to not to force our players to feel this way by beating them, but rather use this design exercise to come up with a myriad of different ways that you can help your players. And once again, we ask you to use your game playing AIs to assist your players. Thank you for listening to our talk. My name has been Batu, and you can find me at Twitter at Aytemiz. Please feel free to reach out if you have any further questions. Thank you.